Live on DAZN Worldwide, April 26th, Eubank Jr versus Benn. 30 years of rivalry and hatred.
I do hate him.
All comes down to this. The next generation, a new destroyer. For family, history, legacy. Eubank Jr versus Benn, April 26th. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
I'm trying to think of the words to use for this Anthony Yarde, Lyndon Arthur trilogy fight. Well, the trilogy no one asked for. Anthony Yarde, don't F this up. And the reason why I say Anthony Yarde, don't F this up is, listen, Lyndon Arthur is a cool guy. He seems like a lovely chap. He's a decent fighter. He's not a terrible fighter by no stretch of the imagination. He's a decent fighter. But really after the second Yarde fight, he's not looked good at all. I mean, he really hasn't. I mean, he's had a couple of very shaky performances. I think there was one fight in particular, it might have been on Channel 5. He really had to he literally pulled out, I think, in the last round. And he hasn't been looking amazing. But some people would argue that Anthony Yarde, he hasn't looked amazing, well, probably arguably since the last Lyndon Arthur fight. I know some people are going to say Beterbiev, when he fought Beterbiev, he had his moments. He still lost that fight. He did look good in it, in patches, but nevertheless, he still lost. That was 2 years ago. And since then, he's fought, well, 2 no-hopers. And I can't, Ralph something, the guy's name was, I can't remember the guy's name he fought back in the Copper Box last October. But that guy was not, I'm not going to say he was terrible, he wasn't. But certainly on paper, Anthony Yarde should have been having the beating of him. And he made that fight much, in fairness, you could argue the knockdown really helped Anthony Yarde aplenty in there, you know. I mean, people were texting me saying, you know, I can't believe what I'm watching, Anthony Yarde going life and death with this guy. Raul Vilcans or something like that, his name was. And that would lead me to believe that maybe Anthony Yarde probably didn't do his ideal preparation for that fight. And if you follow Anthony Yarde on social media, which I do, link to my own Instagram will be in the description as well, or in the comment section. But I followed him on Instagram, and it just seems to me like he's doing his bit of training, that's all well and good, and then he's at movie premiere, or he's filming something, or he's at another movie premiere, or he's doing something. It seems to me as though, just judging by social media, that he's probably not 100% on this job. And that's a risk, because although Lyndon Arthur, I don't think is even what he used to be. I'm not saying he's, you know, shot to bits or anything like that, but I think he's definitely regressed a little bit. At the end of the day, he still beat Anthony Yarde first time around. It was competitive, it was, but he beat Anthony Yarde. And I had no issue with Lyndon Arthur getting the decision that night. A year later, Anthony Yarde goes in there, and he really does do a demolition job on Lyndon Arthur. And for that reason, that's why I'm not compelled to really see this trilogy fight. I think Anthony Yarde has other avenues he should be going down. And having the trilogy against Lyndon Arthur is not the right way to do it. I know some people are going to say, well, they're 1-1. Listen, I've no problem. Like Beterbiev Bivol, for example, they're going to do a trilogy fight probably in October. And for me, that's perfect. I've no issue with that, because both guys are 1-1 against one another. They both want to fight each. Some people believe Beterbiev should have won both of them. Some people believe Bivol should have won both of them. At the end of the day, this is going to be the rubber match. So we're going to have a decisive winner. Lyndon Arthur won the first fight, Yarde won the second fight, but he won it decisively. It's not like you're looking and thinking, oh, let's get the rubber match because we need to finally figure out who is the... No, Anthony Yarde won that second fight, no problem at all. What was it, 4 rounds? He stopped Lyndon Arthur in. So that's a reason why I'm not compelled for this fight. But I guess it's a necessary evil in some way. Anthony Yarde probably needs to get back on the scene, and obviously that Raul Vilcans fight didn't flatter anybody, and maybe he feels, all right, I've done this guy already, beaten him already, and maybe now, once I've, flattened him again, I'll look good and I'll get some big fights off the back of that. For me personally, I would still love to see the Joshua Buatsi fight. Joshua Buatsi obviously lost to Callum Smith, but that fight right there was competitive and it was an absolute cracker. Me and Ade spoke about it on the show, I think it was the last week or the week before, that it still kind of boggles the mind that they walked first on that last crescendo card. Callum Smith and Joshua Buatsi opened the main show, which is insanity really. I would still, even though we lost, love to see Anthony Yarde versus Joshua Buatsi. We've heard so much talk about that fight over the years. We've thought it's been close to happening on a number of occasions. It's never happened for whatever reason. I desperately would still like to see that fight. Even though Joshua Buatsi lost, I'd still love to see it. Having said that, I would also love to see Anthony Yarde versus Callum Smith. I look at that fight, and right there I just look and think stylistically, that has good fight written all over it. Callum Smith is not going to take a backward step. And crucially, I really did think after the Beterbiev fight, because Smith was really dominated. And Yarde did do better against Beterbiev than Smith did. But Smith was really dominated in that fight. He was taken out, he was beaten up and then stopped. And I thought, all right, where's the fire? You've made big paydays in your career. You got the Canelo fight. You've been world champion. Is the fire there? Yeah, clearly. Very much so. So him against Callum Smith, that would be good. Because Yarde, if you come at Yarde, he can light you up. But at the same time, I think that he is susceptible to a bit of what we've seen. He's susceptible to pressure. Beterbiev is different gravy when it comes to pressure fighters. Even ask Callum Smith that. But I think with Anthony Yarde, he needs to win this fight because there are big fights on the horizon. At the end of the day, both guys, Beterbiev and Beterbiev, they're in a league of their own. It's really a case of when they both decide to bow out, which could be soon enough. What do you do? You know, what scraps are you going to pick up? Because you got to remember, the light heavyweight division at one stage, maybe even a year or so ago, 18 months ago, on the surface, it wasn't actually that strong. On the surface. Now you've got the guys coming up from 168 pounds. Now you have the Dave Morrells of the world, who is still a phenomenally talented fighter, big puncher as well. And you've got Dave Benavidez. I saw Alexander Vodcek. I think he fought on Gabby Fondora's undercard the weekend. I know he's been in action. I think he might have been on that one. He's still flipping dangerous. So at light heavyweight, I mean, there are some sharks in that division. So it's not going to get any easier when Beterbiev and Bivol finish their trilogy. So with Yarde, he needs... And at the end of the day, he's not a young man anymore. Like, in boxing sense, he is a young man in terms of, you know, he's only, 34? I think? He's not that old. He's not an old man. But in boxing sense, you know, he turned pro 10 years ago with next to no amateur fights. He looked very polished. They brought him along slow. I get that. You have to do that with someone with, 8, 9 amateur fights. You have to do that. But the way they've done it, it's been slow. Top gear down, slow. Top gear slow. That's what's been like. There's never been a gradual, you know, increase. It's always just been like, oh crap, boom, down. That's what's been like. So those are my thoughts. Oh yeah, and I didn't give a prediction. My prediction for this fight is Anthony Yarde by a stoppage. I think it will probably go almost identical to the second fight in Anthony Yarde. Lyndon Arter might be a bit more game. He might be able to survive a little bit better and go a bit longer this time around. Ultimately, I think he's going to get stopped by Anthony Yarde, and it's going to be a case of what does Anthony Yarde do next. As long as he gets through this, he should be in some big fights in the immediate future. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. As always, smash the like button, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. And until next time, people, peace.